Senator Hagerty, thanks for coming on.
Certainly.
You just got back from East Tennessee. You've been on the ground in the air. Can you talk about what's going on over there?
The devastation there is just hard to imagine. I was there most of last week. Then I was just trying to talk with people, local officials, and people that have been, harmed by the devastation there. It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, and everybody's just working their hearts out to try to pull things together. They're doing it quickly. They're trying to save one another. There are whole communities that have been separated because they lost a critical bridge or a road to get to them. People without water. People have lost their entire farm, for example. The French Broad River is a nice meandering broad river with beautiful bends in it. Because of the volume of water that came through, it just ran straight across those bends and took the farm with it, the farmland, the topsoil, the barns, the fixtures, equipment. Who knows what's in the rivers now and what's built up at the bottom of these dams. So last week, my efforts were really focused on the people and on the leadership of the counties. Earlier this week, I went back with the governor and the TDOT commissioner to look at the highway damage, what we're going to do with the infrastructure. That's the bridges and the roads that have been taken out. The damage is very extensive, and it's going to take a lot of time just to assess how much damage and how we're going to go about fixing it, because the underpinnings of the roads, for example, have been washed away. It's a different terrain than when the road was built. If you look at it from the air, which I did with TVA, the amount of trees, debris, trash that's in the water that's piling up against these dams is extensive as well. It's going to be a major, major effort to clean up all of the debris. And I can only imagine what happens. TVA has been trying to manage the water levels down as quickly as they can in case we get another rain. But when that happens, the rain comes up again, the debris floats out again. I just pray that we don't have another even mild hurricane or flood that would send a lot more water volume this way.
Definitely. So you talked about people helping each other out. The volunteer state,
yeah.
It's living up to its name right now. But can you talk a little bit about that? But also, FEMA,
Certainly.
not necessarily. A lot of people have questions there.
So I was at Bristol Motor Speedway this morning. That's basically the main distribution hub for all the people that are sending in donations. And they're doing a terrific job. It's an 80,000-foot warehouse, and they're beyond capacity at the warehouse. They're out in the parking lot. They've got a quarter of a mile of the track. Underneath that track, they're storing water. That's how much water that they have there that people have sent here in donations. I was talking to folks in Memphis. A friend of mine's got a steel company there. You think about the big flat trucks they use to haul steel around the country. This is a nationwide company. But they're dedicating their trucks to bring supplies from Memphis. People in Memphis are pitching in. People here in Middle Tennessee are pitching in. Volunteers are going in. Up at Bristol Motor Speedway today, there was a man that had come down from New York. He brought a tractor trailer load of equipment. He said he's going to be there for the next 4 days because he was paying it back for what we gave them in 9/11. So the volunteerism has been exceptional. I'll share one snippet with you that I thought was just truly touching. One of the bridges was finally verified that it was safe to pass. But the approach to the bridge, 2,500 yards of approach to the bridge had been washed out. City officials are trying to figure out what they're going to do. A guy shows up and he says, you know what, I've got a dozer. Let me see if I can help. He starts moving river gravel around, starts calling his friends. 36 hours later, after working through the night, they'd repaired that approach, the bridge is back open, people are now getting to their community. That's Tennessee volunteerism.
Definitely. Some would like to see more help from FEMA in these situations, it seems.
Me included.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's been extremely frustrating to see the federal government dragging its feet. I don't know what's underway or why the government would be late to the game with respect to Tennessee, but it's required me to call the White House to put pressure on the White House to get the appropriate measures underway. It actually took me going on air. I put a video together earlier this week when I found out that FEMA had only finally completed the paperwork and aided less than 100 families here. 2 days later, it was over 1,000 here in Tennessee with FEMA after I put that type of pressure on them. But I'm going to keep the pressure on FEMA. They show up, they're not located where I think they should be. They should be where the supplies are being delivered to people.
Why do you think that is?
Again, this is bureaucracy, it's mismanagement, and it's incompetence. There's been a lot of press given to whether this line of funding or that line of funding is at stake. It's not a matter of funding as much as it is a lack of manpower. They're grossly understaffed. Their mission, the mission of FEMA, should be on disaster relief. Instead, this administration has pushed their mission to things like resettling illegal immigrants here. So you've certainly got management distraction at the top. They don't know what their mission is, evidently. This should be their number one priority. They should be fully staffed, and they're not.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking a little bit about stuff going on in Unicoi County and all the other places in East Tennessee. Part of that, assessment, these cities, towns, neighborhoods, they want to repair things. And then what were you saying about?
Certainly. No, you take a small county like Unicoi or Carter. These are small counties with small budgets, but everybody's pitching in and trying to put the pieces together to get their families' lives back together. And what we just found out is that FEMA is down in a very high-handed fashion talking to local officials now, saying that anything that you did, in this particular case, one of those counties, anything that you did to repair your roads without putting out a request for a proposal, putting it out for a competitive bid process, is not going to be reimbursed. We don't have time for a competitive bid process. We have people showing up. Look, the Tennessee contractors, I'm sure, are doing this as quickly and as cost effectively as they possibly can. We can come back and figure this out later, but for FEMA to come in and treat our local elected officials that way, look, what's going to happen in terms of revenues? You think about property taxes that support local municipalities. Well, the property's been destroyed. That's going to have an immediate and long-term effect on the revenues of these counties. So just as they've been called upon, probably to delete their rainy day fund, and I put quotes around that because no one's got a rainy day fund this size. This is why we have these federal disaster relief agencies. And then have these agencies come in and tell a local mayor or a local superintendent that we're not going to reimburse everything that you put your heart and soul into fixing.
So my understanding is there can be an appeal process there. If that doesn't help them out, what are you and the delegation going to try to do to, help about?
I think we're going to do everything we can to make sure that this appeal process is opened up and that we get relief to these counties right away.
And does that mean talking to the White House or talking to FEMA officials? What?
All of the above, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And my job is oversight of these federal agencies. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I have every right and every responsibility to the people of Tennessee to be focused on this, to be drilling in on this and making certain that we're getting the most efficient and effective delivery of taxpayer resources.
Mm-hmm. The trifecta over there, for lack of a better term, I guess, they lost power. A lot of places lost access to water.
Yeah.
They lost communication and cell service. It seems very vulnerable, parts of the country. Maybe it could happen anywhere, right? If a storm rips through like that and you lose communication,
it certainly could.
What's a way to try to prevent that?
Yeah, the communication loss was probably the most immediate concern because we had all these people that couldn't connect with their relatives. So the number of people that were, quote, missing in the beginning was enormous. Yeah. But as we began to get cell service up, and I'm so thankful for Starlink coming in, that began to work its way through. The first people we were connecting were, of course, the first responders via Starlink. But now we've had Verizon, we've had AT&T in as well, bringing mobile trucks in with transmission capability. So people have largely been found now. And sadly, we've had casualties, but not nearly as much as I had feared, given the initial size of those that were missing or not being able to be contacted. If you look at what's been taking place, though, the communications was the first layer, and I think we've done a very good job of making that happen. Electricity was the next. The electricity TVA has done an incredible job of getting in there and getting people back online. I've been very impressed. I went over to visit NES's operations here just last week because they've been sending people from all over the state to help.
Right.
And the linemen are just incredible. They're built for this. This is what they're trained for, and they're doing a great job over there. The longer term concern has been water. And that's why we've got so much water at Bristol Motor Speedway right now. People have donated water, but water treatment facilities were taken out wholesale. And that's going to take longer to build back. We're working on it, we're focused on it, but the lack of running water is a huge problem. With the electricity, at least this is a mild time of year, so people were doing okay, although there's more demand now for propane and heaters because we're moving into a little bit colder weather up there. But it's going to take some time to build all of this back.
So when a water treatment facility, I know there's some sort of financial burden there too, and if the appeals process aren't working or whatever aid they might need there, because like you said, it's not the biggest budgets over there in some of these small towns.
Well, the good news is that the state of Tennessee has stepped up with $100 million of advance money, if you will. We will work out the situation with FEMA and the other federal agencies on the back end of this, but we need to get the resources. We need to prime the pump, and I applaud the state of Tennessee for doing just that. So
what I've been thinking a lot about, having been over in Western North Carolina, having seen everything, having heard it from you directly, who were flying overhead, this week and last week, whether it's a severe weather event, a severe attack, are Americans too reliant on government resources?
Well, this is one area where I think government resources should be focused and properly deployed. If you think about our national defense and dealing with disasters, it's hard to imagine where it's going to hit. And there, the federal government can play a real role. They can and they should. However, this government, particularly this administration, has decided that they're going to get involved in all kinds of things. Transfer payments between individuals. They're going to invite people that are not citizens into our country and house them. You think about the foreign aid that's being sent out with very little, that's what really irritates me, the lack of accountability on money that we send overseas, yet FEMA's here asking people to fill out forms in triplicate. I'm kidding a bit on that, but they're scrutinizing local citizens very carefully about their request for relatively small amounts of aid, yet we're sending massive amounts of aid to other countries.
So the focus, seems to be right now on making sure people are okay, right? And then assessing this damage and figuring out how to get these towns with that small charm, these hardworking people, back on track. But once that sort of plays out a little more, is there going to be some sort of thing to try to make sure things go more smoothly the next time?
I think what we should do is make certain that the federal agencies are focused on their mandate. Mm-hmm. In this case, FEMA should be focused on disaster relief, not housing illegal migrants. We need to get back to the basics in terms of federal government and cut out this peripheral stuff. The budget is, our deficits are, incredible. They've got to be cut back. The debt that falls upon our children and grandchildren's shoulders, we're at $35 trillion and counting right now. We need to get back to the basics of government and have government do what it should, not all of these other ancillary programs that have been tacked on, over the years.
Well, what are some ways you think you can do that?
Well, I think the first thing that's going to have to happen is we've got to change the resident in the White House. And Kamala Harris is certainly not going to change any of this. So the first and foremost issue is going to happen November the 5th. I have, even greater confidence now that President Trump will win. He's going to be very focused on getting our economy back in shape. If you think about it, when he was in office, the U.S. economy was growing at twice the rate of any other major economy in the world, at least any other free economy. I don't trust Chinese numbers. And we were seeing prosperity at every level of the economy. People's real wages went up. In the Biden-Harris administration, because of inflation, people's real wages have gone down. Ask people in America today, over 70% of Americans think that this nation is on the wrong track. We got to get back on the right track, and we need to get our federal government back on the right track too.
And then if we could wrap up with just what's that message to those victims out in East Tennessee of the storms and everything as they're trying to fight through it?
Well, I just want them to know that everybody that I talk with in Tennessee is outpouring of emotion and hope and prayer for them. I've talked with people from overseas, and the first thing that they ask me about is how are the people in Northeast Tennessee doing? Certainly we all care. We're doing as much as we possibly can. I've been overwhelmed with the volunteerism that I've seen here in the state, the people that want to help. They're trying to find ways to constructively help. I was just at Bristol Motor Speedway this morning, and the place is, that's the main distribution point up there for the people that need help and need aid. The goods that have come in there that have just been donated. Enormous. Again, over 80,000 square feet under one roof, and they've already gone out into the parking lot. They're under the Bristol Motor Speedway storing water. So that's just one measure of the outpouring. But I've seen volunteers step in. This has been as devastating as it was to see what has happened to the people of Northeast Tennessee. It's been heartwarming to see the volunteerism, the support, and the empathy that people not only here in Tennessee but around the nation have poured out.